Good evening. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for being with us tonight. It's incredible to look out at this room, see so many familiar faces and so many new faces. It means the world to us to fill this ballroom this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy, for your ongoing commitment to this organization. We would not be where we are without you. Truly, thank you. It's my pleasure. Yes. It's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to NAMI-NYC's 2024 Gala. I would like to give you a friendly reminder that there should be some envelopes on your table, or an envelope on your table with paddles in them. I hope that you will, I encourage you to look over the different levels of giving that are in there as well as you hear more about the impactful stories of this organization. Your generosity will allow us not only to sustain the programs that you heard about from Cindy and from Stacy, but to continue to grow as the demand for our programs and services continue to grow. Thank you in advance for your support. And it is my great honor to present our very first award of the evening, our Ending the Silence Award, to Congressman Richie Torres. At the age of 25, Richie became New York City's youngest elected official and first openly LGBTQ person elected to office in the Bronx. Congressman Torres has publicly shared his own struggle with depression and has talked about the stigma around mental illness and ways we need to reduce it. He's been in public service for 20 years. He's passed over 40 pieces of legislation, including legislation protecting the city's affordable housing stock and tackling the city's opioid epidemic. Richie is a fighter who has spent his entire life advocating for the community he calls home. His hard work and dedication creates a space for others to discuss their own mental health challenges, and we're so honored to have him with us tonight. Congratulations. Please join me in congratulating Congressman Richie Torres for the 2024 Ending the Silence Award.
Well, it's such an honor to be here with NAMI and all of you. Thank you for being on the front lines of lifting up those with mental illness. First, I would not be here were it not for my mother. When I won my primary in June of 2020, I publicly said that before I was a congressman or a councilman, I'm first and foremost the son of my mother, Deborah Bassalet. And for me, there's no greater honor than representing the Bronx, which is full of powerful mothers like mine who struggle and suffer and sacrifice so that their children and grandchildren can have a fighting chance at the American dream. In many ways, one of the best forms of mental health care is a mother's unconditional love, and I'm living proof. I never thought life would take me on a journey from public housing in the Bronx to the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. 13 years before becoming a member of Congress, I was at the lowest point in my life. I had dropped out of college. I found myself struggling with depression and abusing substances. I even attempted suicide and underwent hospitalization because I felt as if the world around me had collapsed. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would have an opportunity to rebuild my life, and then a few years later become the youngest elected official in America's largest city, and then several years later become a member of the United States Congress. I would not be alive, let alone a member of Congress, were it not for mental health care and the impact it's had on my life. And I feel, every morning I take the same antidepressant I've taken for the past 10 years, Wellbutrin XL, 150 milligrams. And I feel no shame in admitting it because mental illness is nothing of which to be ashamed. Right. Mental health care is what enables me to be a productive public servant, to be the best version of myself. And as a public official, I feel an overwhelming obligation to speak my truth, to tell my story, in order to break the shame and silence and stigma that too often surrounds mental health. You know, I'm an unusual elected official. You know, I do not fit into your typical profile of a member of Congress. I'm slightly younger, congressionally young. I do not have a net worth of $1 million. I do not come from a political dynasty. I do not even have a college degree. But what I lack in formal credentials, I make up for in lived experience. I know what it's like to face housing insecurity and food insecurity and poverty. I know what it's like to struggle with mental illness. And my lived experience with mental illness is not a weakness. It is a strength. It does not impoverish me as a public servant. It enriches and drives everything I do. So thank you for having me. Thank you for the work you do. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Torres, for the outstanding work for New York City, your openness, your willingness to talk not only about your own personal lived experience, but the journey you've been on to help others deal with their own mental health challenges and supporting families as well. I'd also like to give a special thank you to our board of directors, our incredible staff members who work tirelessly day after day, who are working tirelessly right now. Let's give them all a round of applause, please. Nothing we do at NAMI-NYC would be possible without the 330 volunteers that you heard about earlier and our incredible, extraordinary, dedicated staff. I can't tell you how grateful I am to work with such an amazing team. I get inspired every single day. I also want to thank our generous supporters, our legislative funders, including New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams, Councilmember Linda Lee, New York State Senator Brad Hoyle-Siegel, who's in the room with us tonight, and New York State Assembly Member Alex Boras, who I believe is also with us this evening. Thank you so much for your support. It's because of all of you that we are able to transform the lives of the 1 in 5 who live with mental illness and the other 4, their family members, their friends, their neighbors, their colleagues. We are all affected by mental illness in one way or another, and we provide free education, support, and advocacy to literally anyone who needs it in and around the New York City area. In fact, through our digital virtual programming, we've reached all 50 states and 36 other countries with people participating in our programs and services. As you can imagine, there is still work to be done. The pandemic has changed us forever. Young people continue to struggle. Old people continue to struggle. We have a lot of pressure on social media, online. We're struggling with loneliness, with thoughts of suicide. And more than ever, New Yorkers are struggling to access the care that they deserve with resources, with insurance. It can be incredibly difficult. If you're a family member, NAMI New York City is the only organization in New York City providing direct service to family members and friends of adults living with mental illness. If you love someone who lives with mental illness and you want to help them navigate this complex journey while also helping yourself so you can continue to be a support of theirs, NAMI New York City is where it's at. That family-to-family class you heard Sue talk about, I work here so I'm biased, but it will change your life. Truly, truly, it will change your life. I mentioned the 1 in 5 and the other 4. We talk about that a lot. The statistics that we often hear is just about the individual who lives with mental illness. That doesn't tell enough of the story as far as we're concerned. If all the interventions we're providing are for the 1 in 5 of us, and we don't invest in that first ring of people around them, the people who know them the best, who love them, who want nothing more than for them to be well, but don't know how to do it, We are missing critical opportunities to support people who are really struggling. We want to help. We don't know what to say. We are not born knowing how to support someone who lives with mental illness. So we say the things that we think will make a difference for them. And usually, they're the thing that is the most invalidating and the last thing the person needs to hear. It's not our fault. We're doing the best that we can. We don't know better. We can help you change that. When we invest in family support, we see better outcomes for the individual who lives with mental illness. When we invest in family support, instead of the friction that we see in families and the fabric that holds families together wearing thin, we see families coming together, being on each other's side. There's enough to fight. You don't need to fight each other. Together, we can fight the system. We can fight for people to get the care that they need, fight to keep people seen and heard when they're struggling, fight to keep all of those family members together. When you invest in family support, people who live with mental illness go to the emergency room less. When people take advantage of our free programs and services, the people living with mental illness who they love are in the hospital less often and connected to community resources more frequently. The power of caring both for individuals who live with mental illness and the people who love them, that is what makes this organization the most special organization in New York City, because we're taking a holistic approach. When we care about the 5 out of 5, that is how we can change lives. We can't do it without you. We can't. We truly can't. Family support, peer support, they're generally not funded by the government, who tends to pay for a lot of our healthcare programming. They're not reimbursable for insurance. We get a very small percent of our $5 million budget from the government. The rest we raise through philanthropy, through individuals, foundations, corporations, etc. Every dollar we get enables us to keep our existing programs going and scale them so that we can serve even more than 21,000 people next year and the year after that and the year after that.